Well, welcome back to another Supts Talks. We're so excited about the program that we have today. I've got really two great, wonderful, special guests. So first of all, I have, and both of them are longtime educators from Dayton ISD. Both of them are retired. And I have our former superintendent, Mr. Greg Heyman, and I have Miss Carolyn Land, and you'll get to see why she's actually here today in just a minute. So first of all, both of y'all have been in education for a very long time. Y'all were in Dayton for a very long time, and the topic today is Dayton ISD's District Wall of Fame, right? And Mr. Heyman, you were kind of around in administration when this inception happened. Can you tell us a little bit about the history?
Yes. Nancy Fuller was superintendent at the time, and I was her new assistant superintendent. And she came to me one day and said, I want to implement something I put in other districts. It's called the Wall of Fame. And it's a chance for us to recognize those educators that have gone above and beyond the call of duty.
Right.
And so we met as a committee. I put the committee together, and we determined that we would need to find a lot of folks to put on that wall moving forward at the beginning.
Oh,
and then
yes.
we would decrease the number as time went on, because we wanted to play catch up.
Right.
Because there were a ton of people we wanted to recognize.
We've had a lot of excellent teachers throughout our years as Dayton ISD,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm. And we would ask the staff members and community alike to refer names of a teacher they loved or an administrator they loved that really changed their life. And they would submit those names, and then our committee would decide which five would go on the wall. And then a few years went by, it was 4 and then 3, and we're down to 1 right now.
I think we are up to number 36
Okay.
so far. So, and looking at, we had about 15 actually starting out in the induction, the very first year, which was, I believe, 99, 2000.
Okay.
And like you said, it kind of progressed and went down from there, and now we only do 1. And anybody can nominate. We have it on our Dayton ISD website, the application.
Right.
So I know along the way, y'all put some criteria together. And what is some of those criteria that we're looking for?
Well, the first criteria was that they have to be professional employees in Dayton ISD, or have been. The second one is that they must have been retired for 5 years and have a minimum of 5 years of service in Dayton ISD. And we encouraged people to pick those employees who had demonstrated qualities that reflect character, leadership, and sacrifice, putting the needs of others above their own.
And looking at the names that have been on there and that are on the wall, they have certain characters. They've got integrity, loyalty, dedication to Dayton ISD, and served many, many years. Who do we have on the very first one? Who do you have there?
This is Mr. Richard Jefferson. And I met him my first years here in Dayton back in 1981.
Wow.
And it was at the old Richter that used to be here, Richter Elementary. It was a brand new building in 1981. We were just opening it. And Mr. Jefferson and I found that it was, we both lived in Baytown at the time, and so we started carpooling, and we had a lot of good conversations about administration and teaching. And what I didn't realize was that he had been a principal for a while at Colbert back when you had segregation.
Wow.
And Colbert was a 1st through 12th grade campus. And then when desegregation happened, he went back into the classroom and was teaching, I think, mathematics at Richter.
I think
just a wonderful, wonderful teacher. And I'll never forget the things that he told me.
Well, I remember Mr. Jefferson when I went through Colbert. And Colbert was 5th and 6th grade back in my day. And he was a math teacher then.
Okay.
So, yes, I do remember him. And great memories. Now, who else do we have?
Well, this is Jack Caraway.
Oh, gosh.
He was an ag teacher.
Yes.
And then he became the business manager at the school district. And what I can say about Jack is that he was very determined to do the right thing. Didn't matter if it was popular or not. And he wanted to put everybody else's needs above his own.
And I think it's so awesome that not only was he an educator, but his daughter still teaches for us, and his granddaughter now teaches for us. So, I mean, I love that. I love that. So, did you work with Mr. Caraway at all?
Mr. Caraway was head of the department in agriculture when I came to Dayton. I remember him as being just a kind, gentle giant of a man. And his demeanor was always so calm, so kind, and so caring. And not only was he just a great inspiration for our students, but he was such a community-minded. As a farmer rancher, he was out in the community helping others and doing his thing in ranching, and he was just an awesome individual.
And we still see him at the FFA shows and the LJ Sashery Memorial. I mean, he's still out and about. Mm-hmm. That's great. Do you know of somebody that might have had an impact upon your young career starting out that might have been on the Wall of Fame?
Yes, if I have to come and think about someone, that would be Sue Park.
Oh, okay. So Sue Park, there you go.
Sue was an individual who was a great inspiration to me. I am one that kind of gets comfortable in a situation. So change is not always easy for me. And after being in my first role at Dayton High School, she encouraged me to think about becoming the Guidance Center Director, which she was leaving that position to become counselor at the junior high. So I had gotten married that year and thought if I was going to make a change, that this would be a good opportunity, and focus on home and family. And so I debated and considered it and prayed over it, and I was led to become the Guidance Center Director.
Now, back then, it was called the Box.
Yes.
Yes,
and
the Box.
We were housed in a little metallic building over by the football field, isolated from everyone else.
Oh, my gosh.
We had a room that housed about 16 student cubicles and a little restroom area, and that was the Box.
And so the Box now has kind of gone into, it's called ISS now.
Yes.
In school suspension. So
yes. Uh-huh.
Okay, so that kind of brings us to why you are actually here, Miss Land. Congratulations. You are the number 36 recipient.
That's a good number.
Yes, it is. Recipient of Dayton's Wall of Fame.
Well,
and we're excited. So you started working out in Dayton ISD. What was your role?
I came in the fall of 1975, and at that time I was interviewing for a physical education teacher / volleyball coach. And I still remember as if it was yesterday walking into the front of the old Dayton High School, which is now Nottingham campus. Uh-huh. And the first person I met was Bill Johnson.
Who's also on the Wall of Fame.
Yes, he is.
There you go.
And needless to say, we had a conversation, kind of a lengthy one. And
you always did with Mr. Johnson.
Oh, yes. He was quite the character.
Yes, he was.
But what a special person he was for me. He first asked me, well, where are you from? And I told him I was from a little East Texas town called Malakoff. His eyes perked up, and he said, well, that's a suburb of Cayuga, Texas.
Where his daughter is.
Yes, I was amazed that he even knew Cayuga. So after we visited more, I found out that was his childhood home. So right then I felt like, oh, home is here. And so they became a very special family to me as I came to Dayton.
And home has been here for you
for
all
a long
these years.
Time. Yes,
same as you, Mr. Heyman, right?
Yes.
You grew up. If I'm not,
I graduated from Deer Park High School.
Yes, that's what I thought.
But we didn't live there the whole time.
Yes, but you moved here, and this has been your home.
Yeah.
So I just happened to find an old school picture of you. Do you see this? That was with you actually coaching.
Oh, my goodness.
There you go. Yes. So you probably had some fond memories.
I do. I coached for 7 years, taught physical education, and
You were my teacher.
yes, most definitely. And your cheerleader sponsor.
You were my cheerleader sponsor.
Yes. Our volleyball teams. We were fortunate enough to win by district for a couple of years, and
Wow.
that was really great. And in the second by district round, we almost beat the state champion that year in our regional playoffs. And that was just, the girls fought so hard. It was so amazing. But what was so special about those couple of years was we had one player named to the Texas High School Coaches Girls Association as an all-star volleyball player that year.
Okay.
And then the next year, we had a player named All-State.
Who was that?
That was Sandra Emmert.
She was one of my classmates.
Yes, and they are now both members of the Dayton ISD Athletic Hall of Fame.
They are.
Yes, they are.
That's awesome.
So they paved the way for a lot of young ladies in our district in that particular area.
You were a very good athletic coach because you demanded and had high expectations. And that's what I remember about you growing up. But you didn't stay in that role, and you didn't stay in that role as the box guidance center either. What else other roles have you done?
Well, about the time Sue Park was ready to retire, she again gave me a phone call. She said, I want you to consider becoming the counselor at junior high. And I thought, again, I was comfortable in my role, what I was doing.
Change is hard.
Change is hard. So again, I thought about it, prayed about it, and I thought, I think I'm going to do this. And so I followed her footsteps, became the junior high counselor, did that for many years. And then my last several years in Dayton, I became the 9th grade counselor at Dayton High School. And that's where I
graduated from junior high to high school.
I went back to high school. And so I finished my career at Dayton High School.
Well, we've got some great folks that are on that wall of fame. So congratulations becoming our newest member. There's one other person on here. Who is this, Mr. Heyman?
This is Caroline Watson. Some of you may remember her as mayor of Dayton for how many terms? 2 terms?
I think 2 terms.
Yeah.
That's right.
But I remember her as the librarian at Richter Elementary when I first came to work at Richter. And I don't know if anyone remembers how that campus was set up, but it was the windows in that campus were bubbled, like they bubbled out, and they were round, kind of like you'd see in a fish tank or something.
Yes.
And one day Caroline told me and Mr. Hamilton, who was our coach, that she always felt like she was in an aquarium. It was the end of a long day, and she was kind of, tired and everything. And so Warren and I got together, and the next morning, bright and early, we brought all these decorations, cut out fish and seaweed and everything else, and we just adorned her library with that before she got there.
Oh, I love it.
So that was a lot of fun. We used to play like that all the time and back and forth. But she was real instrumental in helping me feel right at home, because I didn't know Dayton at that time. I was brand new to this town. But she's just a wonderful educator who loves education. And to me, the best teachers are those teachers that are continual students.
Absolutely.
Because they can impart that love of that subject, whether it's reading like Caroline or math or science or such. They can impart that love to their students. And Caroline was one of those educators.
And saying that, Miss Wadzik still continues to educate because she is so instrumental. You talked a little bit about the Dayton Sports Hall of Fame. And Caroline is very instrumental in our old school museum. And Mr. Heyman, you have been instrumental. I bet people don't know that we actually have 3 museums here in Dayton. Yeah. And you were very instrumental in the Rosenwald Museum.
Me and Joanne Paul.
Yes, Joanne Paul. That's right.
Yes.
And so we're very lucky to have folks that have such a passion for history and want our children to understand, how rich our history is here in Dayton. I think that's awesome. Now, we talked about family ties a little bit about Mr. Caraway, but y'all both also have some family ties still in education. Who do you have, Mr. Heyman, that's still here?
My son-in-law.
Now, who could that be?
Mr. Daniel Williams.
And what does he do for our district? And he does a lot.
Well, he does a lot.
Yes, he does.
He's the band director at Woodrow Wilson and Dayton High School.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes. He's done a really good job, really continuing to build the capacity with the other band directors.
He's one of those educators I was talking about, that they love what they do with a passion, and they're a continual student in the field, and they try to impart that love of that field to their students.
And I love the fact that our band program has grown over the years. It's just huge now.
Outstanding. I mean,
when you're out there on Friday Night Lights, I'm telling you, it looks so good out there to have that many kids involved. And that's what we want, is kids to be involved, right? Now, you also have somebody that's still here at Dayton ISD in education. Who could that be?
Well, I actually have two.
You do?
I do have two.
That's right.
My daughter began her career in Dayton as a substitute teacher.
Same.
And once she received her certification, she came on as an elementary teacher at Richter Elementary, and then she became a math coach. Then she followed that with being assistant principal for about 3 years, and she is finishing her first year as Coburn Elementary principal this year.
And she's doing a great job.
She loves every minute of it. And my son-in-law, Bobby Little, has been in the math department and coaching at the high school for, I think, about 20 years now.
Right.
And they just bleed purple.
The one thing I can remember about Bobby, because my children were about the same age as both Jennifer and Bobby, but what I remember about Bobby, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when he was in college, he would come back every year.
Oh, yeah.
Every weekend. And help on Friday night, just as a volunteer.
Yes.
Get on the sidelines. So,
he would.
Yes, that's dedication. These are the folks that we're talking about. So, Carolyn, I hope that everybody comes out. Mark your calendars for April the 15th. It's going to be at Richter Cafeteria at 6 o'clock. We're going to have a reception and program for Miss Carolyn Land.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
congratulations.
That. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for being here today.
Enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Some of this month's reminders are, if you look, we have a whole lot, but just remember the dates of our STAR and end of course testing. Another good thing to look at is we're actually starting our registration for next year. So our pre-K registration starts, and then our kinder starts also this month, and returning students registration also starts this month. So pay attention to that. And one of my favorite days that we have is our pre-K move-up day. And if you'll see that, that's April the 29th, April 30th, and May the 5th. And that's where we take our kids from Colbert, and wherever they are zoned, they will go and visit that campus. It's like a little field trip. So that's always a fun thing. Our tips for parents are strategies for academic success. Of course, this is something, not anything new, but get to know your children's teacher and simply ask your kids, how are you doing? That open lines of communication is very, very important. And also, please encourage the kids to be here every day. If they're not in school, then they're not learning. So we need to have them in school to learn. And help set academic goals for the kids. That's very important. Well, I hope that you have enjoyed this month's Supts Talks. Don't forget to come out and celebrate Miss Carolyn Land's Wall of Fame induction and presentation. It's April the 15th at 6 o'clock, Richter Cafeteria. See you then.